What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we're going to be diving into the actual game of Mind Test and messing around with something called Lua controllers. Let's get started. Okay, guys, I've got a ton to cover, so I need you to pay attention and keep up. So like I said, we're going to actually open up the game of Mind Test, and the way we're going to do that on our computers is by clicking the Mind Test icon just once, not twice like I just did. If your computer is running very, very slow and you're wondering what's going on, check over here on the taskbar to see how many you have open, and sometimes it's the case where you have too many. All right, so we're going to be messing around in the world of, well, let me take you on a tour real quick. So here's the Mind Test game. We've got several different tabs up here. Start game is going to be where you are going to create a game. Join game is where you're going to actually go out and join a server, probably VOC in our case. Content is where you're going to actually get content for your own servers, and those are the three that we pretty much mess around with for the time being. Now, before we get into our game, I want to show you how to modify the game of Mind Test. So here we have a world that's created. We're going to add something to that world. We're going to add a mod to that world. If you're not familiar with what a mod is, it stands for a modification, like I was saying, and it's some sort of script or set of code, which we'll be writing eventually, that changes up the gameplay in some way, whether it adds mobs or it changes like the plant life, whatnot, or gives you certain abilities. They do various things. And in Mind Test, these mods that are created are just laid out into this repository, DB content, and where you can grab. And Mind Test has integrated into the game a online browser. So if you click Browse Online Content, it'll open up a page which takes you to all of the mods that have been put up onto DB content. Now, there are other mods that are actually on Google and on GitHub, things like that, which you can't get through DB Hub. So that's another place to look. But really, the sky's the limit. I mean, there's so many different mods in here. But the one we're going to be concerned with today is called Messe. Messicons by so-and-so. And so we're going to go with the first one by Georgia, I think that is. So over here, of course, just hit the plus icon, and nice, it tells you, hey, would you like to add any of its dependencies? And these are other mods that Messicons relies on in order to actually function. So go ahead and, yes, we absolutely want to add any dependencies because we want to actually use this mod. That's going to take a second to download. Now, Messicons is a really, really big deal in Mind Test. It's basically the replacement, or it's what Redstone is in Minecraft. Okay, so we have downloaded the mod, but it is not a part of our game yet. It is not, I repeat, a part of our game yet. We're going to go over here to Start Game, where we can create a game, and we're going to select 2021 World, click Select Mods, and over here is all the mods that are available. And you can see here that Messicons is in our list. And we can click through and enable each one individually, or we can, in my case, I want to just enable all because they all are what I want. And for you, you might just select Messicons and then hit enable, and we will be all set to go. From here, what you can do is you can click play game. Over here, there are a few different options which you can mess around with. I would just, for the purposes of this tutorial, select creative mode, and you can disable damage because you don't need to die. And in creative mode, you're going to want that in order to get all the parts that you need. So from here, we're going to click play game and wait for it to load. Okay, now you should be in the exact same world. Now wherever you are exactly in that world will vary probably. But what I'm going to do here is we need to set things up just a little bit before we start getting into Messicons. The first thing that we need to do is give ourselves all the permissions, all privs. And so the way we do that is /, that is right next to your bottom right shift key, and then grant me all. So that's grant me is one word, no spaces, and then space all. That gives me all the permissions. Now if I hit HJK, I can now press the space bar and fly and move around. That's going to give us the mobility that we need for the purposes of this tutorial. Okay, so I've found a nice flat spot, and now I need to open up my inventory. I do that by pressing F, and here I have everything that I can possibly add to this world. If we can, of course, peruse the items by clicking these arrows up here. Down here, there's a way of selecting your items or nodes. But for now, I think we can simply use the arrows to find the all the messe items. The Messicon items. And these are a few of them. These might be all Messicon. Don't know how they sort them. I don't know if it's by mod type. You certainly can also do Messicon. Yeah, so if you typed Messicon and press enter, it'll show you all the items that come along with that mod, or nodes or items. So, and the one that we're interested in particular, like I mentioned at the very beginning, is the Lua controller. So go ahead and click that. It puts 99 in your inventory. And let's go ahead and place it right in the middle here. Okay, so this is where we're going to park out for a little bit and just talk about the Lua controller. So first, we look at the outside, and what do we see? We see A, B, C, and D. This always places, I believe, in this direction. B is always in the positive Z direction, and then A is in the negative X. So that's just the way it is. I'm sorry, that would be the positive X. I can't barely see that. No, I had that backwards. I'm sorry. C is in the positive X, and A is in the negative X. So it always places in this direction. These are very important. These sides are very important to the function of it. And I will get into that in just a minute. Now, when we actually click on it, if we left click is going to break it if you click it too long. But if you right click, it'll bring up this, basically it looks like a command line in a sense. It's more like a text editor. Like we used Nano and VS Code, we could add text to it. And then down here we have this nice big execute code. There's a few other resources that you'll see when we actually run our code. It will show us information. For instance, let's just write some random letters. If we press execute, it'll give us some debug information right here. And so just real quick to understand what this is, first thing it says is on line 1, and now load, I don't know what that means exactly, but it's telling us that on line 1, it's expecting an equal sign near the semicolon. So in the semicolon, it just says that because it's the last symbol. This is EOF is end of file, if I'm not mistaken. So it's telling us some information about our code and what's wrong with it, why it can't actually run our code. So that's just something that you'll want to utilize and use on a regular basis, reading that debug. Before you raise your hand, just give that a read, check that line, and see how that helps you. Oh, and if you're wondering, when it goes nighttime, you can set it to whatever time you want by typing /time 6000. In my case, I want to set it to the 6000 time, which is early morning in Mindtest. There's the sun right at the very beginning. So that's how to kind of give yourself some light. All right, so like I mentioned, there's A, B, C, and D. What are these all about? Well, before we get into that, let's add a couple more things. Make sure that you've brought up all of the Messicon items, nodes and items. We're going to click on this first one. This is a Messicon wire, and then we're going to select just your favorite color. I like this cyan color. Pretty nice. Oops. And what we're going to do is we are going to run a wire out from A. Maybe let's make it 2. And then put a light. So you can probably imagine what this is going to do. Now this is like the redstone, right? But Mesicon, it's just a wire. So it goes. Now, that's all that you really need to know for now. There's a lot of other things to know about Mesicon wire, but we won't get into that just right now. So we've got our wire running from A to the light block. Make sure it's from A to the light block, because that's going to matter when we start typing code. Now, if I hit this, whoops, something I tried earlier. If I hit the Lua controller, right-click it. How do I manipulate or change the states of A, B, and C? Because those are outputs and inputs. So you can input information through one of the ports, and you can output information through the ports. So how do I do that? Well, the way we do that is we're just going to mess around with outputs for now. So the output and I think I can do a comment. The output for a Lua controller is called a port. So if I say port.a, I can then set a value. And in this case, what I want to do is set it to true. Now, there's 2 different values. There's true and there's false. True means on. It just means 1 or on. False means off or 0. I think you could probably use a 1 in this case if you press, and yeah. So 1 or 0s also work in place of true and false. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to write true. And if we press execute, as you can see, we can exit the command window, and it just turned this light on. Now you can do the same thing for all the other ports, A, B, C, and D. You can identify port.B as whatever, true or false, and turn it on or off. Now, this is not very useful as is, but next class, I'm going to show you some really cool things, some other more interesting things that you can do with this. So, thanks for watching.